Hello, everybody. This is your random reviewer, and today we'll be reviewing Swarm by Valethehowl, narrated by Michael Braun. As always, there will be spoilers, but overall, I will be vague. Warnings for this book: foul language, and unfortunate descriptions on the physical mechanics of being a hive queen. You have been warned. Alright, more spoilers than usual. This book starts off normally with a great prologue, giving us just enough information to get a taste of the fantasy world we'll be immersed in. Then, and I must apologize for the following rant, comes Chapter 1. First thing I notice is the overuse of swear words, like a punch to the gut. But I think to myself, some people are like that. Whatever. But then the reader gets death by exposition bombarded with the main character's beliefs, life story, quotes from his dead dad, two not so subtle foreshadowing events of his impending death. And that's not all. He goes on to describe the main character as looking like a thug when it was just in his perspective, which is odd by itself, but in doing so, it describes his current mood as wanting to hit someone. And lo and behold, he hears a cry for help, where he mentions normally he would call the police, but he is in no mood to do so. Not only does the same information get repeated, but the information was distributed in a poor way both times. So he goes to help with 14 death flags on his back. On top of everything else, the mugger has no words. He just got shoved, turned around, and shot at the main character, then left. Author, what the heck? Chapter 1 seemed like an afterthought, and honestly was a detriment to the story, and better left out. Okay, I went on that rant primarily to tell everyone that Chapter 1 is an outlier. The rest of the story doesn't suffer most of the fatal flaws shown in Chapter 1. Heck, even the narrator seems to perform better in every other part of the book. Now I'll step off my soapbox. On to world building. Most of the story takes place in an uncivilized area. Even so, the author does a good job at letting the story organically feed the reader information, figuring it out the hard way with the main character, and very occasionally perspectives from other characters. Thankfully, there is no god-like character to give you all the answers, to the point where magic remains mostly a mystery, even when characters who can cast show up. That all being said, you do eventually get a pretty decent picture of everything going on in the small feudal society that is the setting. All that and diverse creatures with unique spins on old fantasy tropes and vague magic makes for an interesting world. The real drawing point of the story, of course, is the main character, and how he, or she, depending on how you look at it, adapts and reacts to the new situation. From attacks by the locals, or finding out unfortunate facts about his new biology, there's never a dull moment. All that, new instincts, and the ability to make an army if given enough time, makes for a winning combination. He and all the characters are heavily driven by their personalities. Like the author, just let them drag him where they may. Overall, I give the story an 8 out of 10. Good story, nice ways to represent old fantasy creatures and their abilities, and the characters were fun to read about. The second book is out and a bit more brutal than the first, but overall, the writing quality remains just as good. Hats off to the narrator for making me have trouble remembering that the little bug girl I was hearing was the same guy who did the internal dialogue. If you like this story, you might like another with a similar concept, except with quite different personalities. Hive Minds Give Good Hugs by Thundermoo. Thank you all for listening to my random review.